You know, when the clocks went back, I thought that it would be very nice not to fight for daylight in the morning. And that's a fail. On the plus side, I'm kind of dressed like a mime, so that's funny. I did almost put on a striped shirt, so I made an effort not to look like I'm disguised. Hello and welcome to episode 29 of the Yarnflakes Podcast. My name is Audrey and this is a podcast mainly about knitting, but also some cross-stitch, weaving, spinning, dyeing yarns from the southwest of France where I live. A very warm welcome if you are new, welcome back if you've already watched previous episodes. Like I said, I do apologize for the light. Believe it or not, this is the best I can do. The colors are accurate though, so that's a good thing. It's just going to be a matter of texture and little grainy effects around here. I hope this will not put you off, as I have quite a lot to show you this week since I didn't film last week. I couldn't because I wasn't alone in the house and I live with a family of elephant. Noise-wise. But I did spend my last Monday fighting on the phone for a very stressful administrative thing. So, yeah. As a consequence, I have a lot of knitting to show, some cross-stitch and some hand-spun yarns. And if this episode isn't 1 hour by the time I finish, I would like to talk a little bit about carding fibers to get a nice fluffy color for you to spin at the end of the episode. Timestamps to all of these different sections will be in the description down below, so if you want to skip a section, feel free to do so. You will also find links to everything that I talk about as well as my social media. I had quite a wave of new people on Instagram, so I do hope that some of them will join here, and if you did, hello, welcome. Did I say welcome enough times already? I think so. Let us start with some knitting. I'm completely confused. Don't film for a week and that's what happens. What did I want to talk about? Yes, I have 2 finished objects and 1 half object, so that is very nice. I finished the owly socks. Can you believe that this is actually showing off better than last time I did show you? So these are the owly socks. It's a pattern by Julie Elsvik, I believe. And these are socks that I made for my lovely boyfriend, and it's in my own sock yarn that I dyed this very tonal charcoaly color that is absolutely lovely. I would actually consider dyeing such a color for a sweater, but right now I made those little socks. They have this very common cabley pattern that makes an owl shape, so you can see it here. Yeah, I only made 1 row of owls because all over I feared that it wouldn't be as comfortable and that it would look a little bit too feminine. And now it's good. Please stay. Please, will you stay? Just please. Ugh. So, yes. Oh, forget everything that I said before. The light is perfect. I did make a little boo-boos here and there. Basically, you have twisted columns of ribs. Is it a free pattern? I think it's a free pattern. Maybe. And then you have the little owl's cables in the middle. And I did make several mistakes because here you're supposed to make like little cable with the just twisting one-on-one stitches, and you have to alternate the directions, obviously. And at some point I've messed up and I did several times the same directions. But I am lucky enough that the color is dark, so it makes a subtle textural effect, so you actually can't see my silly mistakes. And yeah, I couldn't be bothered to fix it. I did fix the owls at some point because I messed up their heads. But yeah, I did a heel flap and gusset because I really like that, and I know it fits my boyfriend well. And yeah, I hope that will be nice for him. Obviously the top part is a little tighter because of the cabling and all the twisted stitches. It's also a twisted rib at the top. But it fits me, and my boyfriend has a smaller instep and ankle thing than me, so if it fits me, it should fit him. And if not, I'll just keep them, I guess, even though they're a bit too long. But yeah, this is a Christmas present, so still will have to wait a little bit to see if they actually fit. The next finished object I want to show you is an amazing one. This is the gorgeous Rainlust shawl by Melanie Berg, which was so kind of sharing my picture of it on her Instagram, and it's really nice of her to want to feature my project on her feed. But yes, I finished it, and oh my god, do I love it. It is, for the first time, I made a lot of shawls. Well, maybe I made like 6 or 7 shawls, but this is the first shawl that I will definitely do again, and I will do it for me because this is a gift. And I mean, look at that texture. I haven't made many one color shawl really focusing on the stitches, and I just love it. I mean, the simplicity of it, and that lace wavy texture is just so perfect. It looks a bit wrinkly here, I'm sorry, it's because it was folded, but it's just so beautiful. So it's a triangular shawl. I don't think it's a perfect triangle, and you basically start with this tip and install the waves, and then you create this garter section and you finish with it. And it has a really good size. Let me making it really wearable. If I can just get up, you see it fell on my belly, so it's like, it's really pretty. And it just isn't too long, and I really like it. Definitely make one for myself. I don't know in which color, but I think that the light grey is really flattering for that stitch. Ooh, and I forgot to say that regarding the size of it, the pattern says that you should repeat during the main part of the shawl, which is basically when you're having both the garter and the eyelets and the lace pattern here. She says to repeat it for 10 times. I really didn't have enough yarn to do that, and when I looked at all the projects, the ones that did it 10 times always used more than 1,000 meters of yarn, and I only had 875 meters. And I just had a little bowl left after this, and I made 8 repeats only, and that was perfect because I had, like I said, just like maybe 7 grams left. So I was a bit afraid that I was going to run out, but yeah, if you have less than 900 meters of yarn, 8 repeats is, I'd say, the maximum that you can do, but it already makes such a nice size that it's really no problem. It was so pleasant to knit, very engaging. I just when I started, I just couldn't stop. I think I made like until you start the garter stitch in like a day and maybe a little bit more of the next day. It's a 22 row repeat, and it's just, there's patterning on both sides, which keeps me very interested, so I actually like that. There's a lot of, like, this is twisted stitches, so there's a lot of purl through the back loop and things. So if you don't like that, I just recommend that you pick a very squishy yarn, so that it's actually pleasant to do. And I really enjoyed knitting it. It went so fast, and the result is just gorgeous. Now the yarn that I used is Drops Baby Merino in the light grey color, and I really like this yarn. It has a really great stitch definition, it's squishy, and it comes in lovely colors, so it's great for shawls. You probably have heard though of how lovely drops are with independent designers. Now I'm not interested in drops patterns because I usually don't like them, so I wasn't aware of their plagiarism, stealing tradition, it seems. But yeah, that's really disappointing. So if you're not aware, Drops apparently repeatedly copied patterns from independent designers, and that's not very nice. And I'm aware that sometimes, inspiration, it's kind of tricky. But this time, they didn't make a garter shawl with eyelets. It was like underwear, woolly shorts. So that's pretty obvious that it's exactly the same pattern, and that's just, I'm disappointed, but I'm not surprised because this is something that happens so many times with big companies. I mean, how many Zara t-shirts do we have that I have stolen illustrations? But yeah, that really kind of angered me, so to say, because I really like Drops yarns. I mean, to me right now, they're the best quality versus price ratio that I can have. I have a lot of sweaters quantities, so you're gonna see a lot of Drops yarn here because I love them and I want to use them. Plus, I buy Drops from what's my kind of local yarn shops, so yeah, it bums me not to be able to support them because I don't like the other brands of yarns that they have. Yeah, especially for heavier weight yarns. I mean, if Old Scarn were to make a DK weight with a better stitch definition, my problem would be solved. But right now, I mean, Drops Lima, Drops Puna, I have a lot of them, and so I'm gonna knit my stash of Drops. I'm going to enjoy it, but for future projects, I really want to be careful and desperately try to find an alternative. I went through my queues, and for my future projects for sweaters and such, I'm trying to find good yarn, affordable yarn, possibly not from a company with limited morals. But yeah, all I want to say is that I want people to be aware of that problem, if you weren't, and just to make your own decision on whether or not you like to support them. You're going to see lots of drops here because I have a lot of it in my stash. But yeah, I just wanted to address the problem. That being said, Drops Baby Merino is one really nice one. Rainless Show by Melanie Berg. Gorgeous. And perfect, fun, knit, squishy, beautiful results. Yes. Melanie Berg, confirmed, is one of my favorite shawl designers. Her and the next work in progress I am going to show you. So you remember how I said that I wanted to make a sweater for my mother? Well, let me show the yarn. I wanted to knit her the Pavement Sweater by Vera Valamaki. You know who it is. And I wanted to knit it out of this beautiful Malabrigo sock in the Pocion colorway. And it's absolutely beautiful. The thing is, I thought I would have enough to make long sleeves because the Pavement pattern has 3/4 length sleeves and my mom doesn't quite like that. And I have 3 skeins and I thought I would be enough to elongate the sleeves. But actually, if I wanted to have enough ease to be comfy for her, I don't think that will fit. Plus, she prefers cardigans. So I just decided that if I am making a garment for her, it will be a cardigan. And we did look at some cardigans pattern, and I think a couple will be very nice to knit for her. So this is going to be for me, but that was supposed to be a birthday present, so I had to switch things around. And I know my mother loves shawls. Plus, it's getting cold, so she would like a nice squishy shawl. So here is when Queen of Shawls number 2 comes in. This is the Liquid Gold shawl by Lisa, I don't know how you say it in English, I'm sorry. Lisa Hans. She usually makes this really beautiful mosaic patterns as well. I have a lot of it in my queue. And the Liquid Gold shawl, which is just a beautiful triangular shawl with cables and eyelets, and it's just gorgeous. So I have a little beard. And yeah, I started it a couple of days ago. And again, a very interesting, engaging pattern. It comes in both written and charted instruction, depending on your preference. I prefer written instructions because, I don't know, my eyes get so messed up when I look at a chart. I don't know where things are. Even though I did make a chart myself for a pattern I hope to release one day. And now I kind of understand the attraction of charts, but I'm a written instruction person. And I just kept doing it, and it is really simple. You just have to pay attention, even though it is it's fairly visible where you are and what you're supposed to do after a couple of repeats. So you keep increasing on both sides, and I just started incorporating the second type of cable, and I don't remember what happens when you're having a bigger triangle, but I just really like this type of cable. Is it called a horseshoe cable? I don't remember. And yeah, you have little bits of eyelets, and there's a ni-cord edging, which I am enjoying much more than the first time I did it in my Saturate shawl. And I'm guessing it's because of the yarn. This is again Drops Baby Merino. It's just a good fingering / sport weight for textured shawls because it had a really good stitch definition. And it's the beige color, which is pretty accurate. It's a bit more it's not as light as this, but it is a colder kind of beigey brown. And yeah, I think it kind of washes me out, but it will look really nice on my mom, because she has a darker skin than I am. Yes, all my family is Spanish, and one of my mother's mother, he's a redhead with green eyes, and what do I get? Just the pale skin. Just why? And all of my other relatives are relatively dark-skinned. I don't like tanned look on me though, so I don't quite mind. It's just that this color, it's alright. It's alright. It's not ideal, but it's alright. Prefer lighter beige. Am I rambly enough? But yeah, it's really engaging, really interesting. It's making squishy things. It's absolutely not reversible though. This is the back of it. So I have 5 skeins of this, and the way the pattern is put is that at some point you just keep going and increasing until you run out of yarn or have just enough to bind off. So I'm going to do that, and I hope that I'm going to achieve a size that is nice enough to be wrapped properly and sit nicely on her bust and keep her neck cozy and warm. But like, I used 5 skeins as well for the rainless shawl, and I didn't even stretch it when blocking, so it could have been even bigger. So this is a yarn that's really stretchy. It's super wash merino, so if knitted, I will be able to stretch it. My mother's birthday is in the middle of December, but I imagine that this will be going rather fast once I actually focus on it. I'm also cabling without a cable needles, which is my first time doing it. It's going nice, even though it's like a slicker yarn, so sometimes I'm very close to actually dropping a stitch, especially when I do the front, the right linen cables, where if you were to use a cable needle, it would be at the back. But yeah, I've done it with 2 stitches, with 3 stitches. I don't think I would do it with 4. But yeah, since I have a lot of patterns in my queue that hopefully will get cast on relatively soon, I'm gonna have to experiment with that technique, and so far I really like it. It takes away the fuss of a cable needle, and yeah. My next work in progress is another gift for my mother. I don't think she watches. She started watching, but I think she got bored, which is understandable. So I don't think she watches the episodes anymore. She doesn't have time anyway. But yeah, I got sock requests for Christmas, so I'm gonna make my mom a couple of pairs of socks, and this is the first one. Oh my god, is that bright! So this is a yarn I dyed when I was experimenting with... Can't talk. This is a yarn I dyed when I was experimenting with a self-striping technique to kind of get the hang of it. And this is how it's knitting up. I am making a pattern because I didn't want it to be plain. I'm making the vanilla latte pattern, which is this ribbed socks that go really well for self-striping. Yeah, I did the 64 stitch size on 2mm because yeah, we're about the same size, so that's alright. And I really like how it's knitted up. Here is the stripes on their own, and here is how it looks with the ribbed pattern. And I think it gives a really nice texture, especially when it's on. This is not blocked or anything, so it looks a bit wonky. Especially when it's on, it just, I really like that look. For the heel, I just did a German short row, and I just I'm pretty pleased with how it looks like. It looks a bit color block crazy thing, but it actually looks alright. The only thing I didn't want is to have like a super thin weird stripe here in the instep, and I don't. I actually just made a slightly bigger grey one, but that's fine. And the heel just looks funny. So yeah, I did a round toe as well. What else? It's a pretty straightforward pattern. It keeps me going more than a plain vanilla sock. So I guess that self-striping plus that rib effect is a way to knit it pretty fast. I did knit most of it in an afternoon, and I already started the second one. My little calf and a bit of the leg. So yeah, I hope to finish those quite soon, block them, have them ready. And yeah, I'm actually knitting a lot of GIF right now, so not a lot of me knitting. That's alright, because once I'm done, I'm going to make just sweaters for 6 months. If you remember a while ago, I showed you 5 swatches for sweaters that I wanted to make like immediately, and I still do. And I also added like 4 more than that. I have another 4 or 5 sweaters that I really want to make right now as well. So that brings me to 10 sweaters to make. Do you think I will be done by next winter? We'll see. So my last work in progress is actually the only one that is for me. It's the Marius cardigan, which is this typical Norwegian yoked pattern, and I'm knitting it as part of the knit along that Ellie from Skein the Knit is hosting. And yeah, so I'm knitting the cardigan version, so it's bottom up, and I started it maybe early September. I really don't like bottom up. Oh my god, I hate it so much. That is, if it's just stockinette, starting with the body and the sleeves. No, I'm never going to do that again. I want to make the Windfell sweater that's in woods that I talked about a while ago. And as well, it's bottom up, and it's a yoke as well in stockinette. So I'm not going to do that. I'll provisionally cast on and yeah, make the yoke first and then do the body down and the sleeves downwards. Just it's just so boring. It bores me. You can't even imagine, and it's just awful, especially the sleeves. So what I mean with that, it sounds like I'm so pissed at my knitting. I'm still going to love the finished object, so that's why I'm going to. What I mean by that is that I'm participating in the CAL, but I haven't shared any pictures of anything in the Malabrigo because it's just endless stock in it. But I am glad to say that I have finished the body. It's not red like this, it's a burgundy red. Can I get? No, I can't. Oh yes, it's going to be sticked, in case you didn't know. Here's my stitches. The pattern says to cast on 3 stitches for the stick. This is my first stick, so I'm a little bit paranoid. If it fails, and I spent 2 months doing this nightmare, and thing just dies when I cut it, I'm going to cry. But yeah, so I cast on 7 stitches for the stick. And here is the body completed. But that's the thing, when you knit bottom up, you can't try it on either. And the last sweater that I did bottom up, the Ola yoke, which I finished not so long ago, yeah, I was really uncertain about the fit as well. So I want this to be a bit oversized, and I'm afraid it's gonna be too big now. Anyway. But I finished the body, and yesterday I finished the increase of the sleeves. So I'm knitting the sleeves 2 at a time because I want them to be exactly the same. And to be honest, I hate it so much that if I were to knit one sleeve and then do the same thing another time, I think it would end me. So if you hate bottom up and if you hate sleeves like me, just do them 2 at a time. It makes it a bit fussier, but I think it's worth it compared to having to do the same thing twice. So I finished the increase of those sleeves. So you're supposed to increase every 2 centimeters, so which is a relatively fast-paced increase to me. I don't know. It's just my second time doing sleeves that way, so I'm that's why I'm a bit unsure. But when I try it on, it looks good. I was just afraid that it would look like nice here, and then that I would have a big floppy thing along my arm. But if I try it on, let me try it on to show you. See, it is big because I want it to be comfy and to be able to wear something underneath. But it doesn't look like it's dragging because of the needle, but it doesn't look that bad. And when I'm going to block it, I definitely hope to stretch it lengthwise, so to try and avoid it being too baggy. But we'll see. Maybe I'm going to fail and it's going to look awful. So you're supposed to increase every 2 centimeters. So I started by having an increase every to have 4 rows between every increase. Then that seemed a bit fast for me, so I just did 5 rows. And now I have all the stitches that I need. And I think I'm just going to knit like 10 to 12 more rows to gain another 5 centimeters. And then I'm finally going to join everything and start the yoke. And that's going to be amazing. Yes, I keep thinking I'm going to make the yoke and then I'm going to be done. No, I'm going to have to make the bottom bands and the neck and then cut it. I'm really anxious to do it. I'm at this point where I'm really anxious to see if it's going to look good and fit me. So I expect that I'm going to work a little bit faster on it now, just to get rid of that stress. In case you knew and didn't see them, these will be my contrast color, and yes, I know it's very Christmassy. I didn't do it on purpose. So yeah, the white is obviously going to be the main patterning of the Marius motif. Then I'm gonna have a bit of a green. An intentional Christmas sweater. For the underarms, the pattern says to cast off the stitches, but in my Ola yoke, I just let them on scrap yarn, and then I Kitchenered them. And I was really happy with how the underarm of my Ola yoke looked. They were super neat. So that's what I did for this one. I prefer to Kitchener stitch rather than seaming it with a mattress stitch or whatever you're supposed to do. That's all the knitting I have to show you this week. Quite a bunch. I just want to make a quick update on my Bimeo cross stitch. This is a cross stitch I'm making for my boyfriend. It's Bimeo from Adventure Time, and I just want to talk about this. I decided to outline the face because the color from the face and the color from the rest of the body, to me, they weren't contrasting enough, so I was afraid that it would all look a bit blended. So I outlined it in the same color as the eyes, which is a dark navy, and I think it looks really good. It looks much better like this, much defined, but it still stays really minimalistic. Struggle. This is only my second cross stitch and I don't know much about it, so I don't know if what I did is proper back stitching. Because what I did is, yeah, I went back. I think that's back stitching, but I'm unaware of the actual terminology. I know you're supposed to do it only at the end of your project, but I was really eager to see if it would make it look better, so I just made sure to have stitches all around so that my outline would overlap the actual crosses. So it's just going to look exactly the same when I'm done. This is the back of it. Since it's such a simple design, there's an N here that I'm going to tack on later. Since it's a very simple design, my goal is to have a super neat back, and I think I'm doing alright. If you're an expert cross stitcher and see anything awful, like, I know that this is bad because I went over 2 stitches with the light blue around the eyes, so it makes, you can't see, but it makes a bit of a meh here. It's still really neat and smooth and everything, so I'm pretty okay with it. But yeah, if you are an experienced cross stitcher and have any tips, go ahead, help a beginner. But yeah, I was hoping to finish it soon enough to send it to him this month, but I don't know. I have done some spinning. I had an order for some custom thick and thin yarns, so I'm almost done with it. This is some Merino that I span on a drop spindle. I only have drop spindle. And yeah, this is the, I'm not going to take that color because it goes really bad with the light. Yeah, this is for a weaving project that my client's grandmother is making. So yeah, thick and thin is kind of hard to do on a drop spindle, to be honest. It backspins a lot, and I have 3 drop spindles and a couple of them are free. I haven't found which one is better. I'm guessing it's a matter of weight for it to be able to handle when you're pushing big chunks of roving. But yeah, it backspins a lot. It still goes rather fast. Spinning thick and thin, but you have to be very careful. And there's a little more movements to do with the spindle, so it kind of hurts my arm. but all the spinning is done. I had 3 of them, and the last one is done and just on a niddy-noddy. I'm letting it relax a little bit. It's really, spinning merino is, it's not my preferred thing. I really like to spin BFL. It's I think a good beginner spinner fabric. Merino is a little bit too, it just doesn't spread as smoothly, which makes it red good for thick and thin actually, because I just have to go with it like a brute, and it actually makes the thick and thin effect quite well. I quite like what I managed to do here. It's kind of a swirling effect. This needs a bath, so it's not going to look exactly like that. It's going to be less fluffy once I actually soak it and whack it against the ground like you do. And yeah, my niddy-noddy is from Kromski. And it's a really convenient tool, especially if you're spinning yarn. So being on the spinning vibe, that's why I thought I would talk a little bit about how you can get different color ways for your spinning. What I mean is that I'd like to talk about how I prepare my fibers to get a certain color effect. Sure, you can dye your handspun after it's done, but then you don't have many specific look that you can get with handspun. So what you can do is you can get a natural roving and dye it, and then you get something like this. This is some hand-dyed merino and nylon by Woll, which is a Etsy shop, a German Etsy shop that has sock yarn and sock roving. You find a lot of roving dyers out there. Some are really well known and gorgeous. This is a really nice one. But I personally don't like dyeing roving. It's very fragile and it gets everywhere. And I'm afraid to felt it, and it always looks a bit mushier. So what do I do if I want to get a special colored fiber to spin? Well, I prefer to card the fiber and blend them together, either completely or in a stripy way, and that way you can get bats or Rolags. So this is a blend of fibers and colors that has been rolled together to make these Rolags that you then pull them and spin them like that, and it makes a really blended handspun effect. I think carding is a lot of fun for spinners, so that's why I wanted to share a little bit about it now. If you either want to blend different fibers, say, like, don't blend silk. Silk is really hard to blend on a carder. I tried. But say if you want to blend, I don't know, Merino and BFL, if you want to add Stolina to something, that's a really fun way to experiment. Those are my hand carders. I got them from Etsy. I don't remember the name of the shop, but it will be linked down below. So basically, in case you don't know, a carder is a piece of rubbery cloth with lots of little needles, so to say. And the point of it is to, much like a drum carder, to blend fibers. I think it's a really fun and kind of meditative thing to do if you want to experiment with colors. And that's how I create my bats and my Rolags when I want a specific handspun look. So I'm just going to show you here, that's just a bit of merino. I'm just going to do it with one color to just show you what happens. So you have to place the fiber on the carder, and in that situation really less is more. I'm not making a proper tutorial. There are a lot of them on YouTube that are lovely and by much more experienced fiber artists than I am. So I just want to show you the motion of it and what it does and how you can incorporate it in your spinning technique. So yeah, you just place it in the dance, so you go the opposite way of the dance so that your fiber gets stuck. So if you want to blend different fibers or colors, well, you just place a little bit of each. Then you have an absolutely ugly thing. The actual carding process is quite loud. I actually enjoyed that sound myself. It's a very scratchy sound. Maybe that's the kind of ASMR I would actually enjoy and not make me want to rip my ears off. I have a very annoying strand of hair that's longer than the rest here. Do you see it? Anyway, so I'm just going to try to show you and spare you the sound. It's easier to do it on your lap. I'm in a kind of a weird position. But basically, you're brushing the fibers and pushing them through the dent with your other carder. There you go, a piece of fluff. It's also a nice way to make it so that your fibers aren't so smooth and in the same order if you want to spin something that's closer to a woolen span. But yeah, imagine that this is a blended color. I like to use the color to experiment and test when I want a perfectly blended tonal, so to say. But if I want to have like a stripy look or Rolags that are all crazy colored, I prefer to use a blending board. Now my blending board is a bit shady. It's not a real one. I made it myself. You can buy like the really nice Ashford one, of course, but they're kind of expensive. So I just bought a piece of carding cloth on Etsy and I stuck it onto a piece of wood. So it's just exactly the same principle. And I'm going to get some colored fibers to show you. Let's make this. This is called a flicker. It's basically a mini carder. And these pieces of wood are used to take off the fibers once you blend it. So I filmed a little video of me just very quickly blending those three colors together just to show you how it works. I hope I'm going to be able to get something watchable out of it. It was quite cold outside though, so I apologize for the wind, my red and shaky hands, but yeah, it was the best position for me to show you, even though it meant that I was a little bit bending in an awkward way, and so that I'm not the most efficient. But yeah, I just wanted to show you how it works. So there you have it. It's two ways that you can play with mixing, blending either different fibers or colors. And I think that's a really fun thing for spinners, because you get to play a little bit more with colors and to get a better feel of your fiber. This is how I like to blend colors when I'm planning for a more personal handspun. So yeah, I hope this was a little bit informative, even though it's really just a way to say experiment with fiber and carding is a really fun thing to do, so I just wanted to show you a little bit what I like to do with that. So I think that's it. That's probably quite a long episode. Have a lot of editing work to do. Yes, I sometimes have a book series recommendation talk. Yeah, I don't have much to share about that, and I think this episode was long enough. I've been watching Downton Abbey. That's basically what sucked me in the last couple of weeks. It's typically, I know I'm late, but because it's typically the show that I knew I was going to get addicted to. So I'm glad there are all the seasons now, so I can binge watch them. It's fun. It's addictive. Keeps me distracted while I work. So totally have a crush on Branson. Yeah. Also on Maggie Smith, but that's something that's been forever going. Yeah. I'm gonna go now. I hope this episode was pleasant. I'm glad that the light of the sun has granted us its presence. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you a happy day, night, happy week, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.